Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting adventure in the realm of the color computer.
A very exciting adventure.
Yes. Yeah. It's me, your good buddy, Amigo Aaron.
It is him.
Joined by the Brent.
Hey, me.
What's a good word on Planet Crackpot?
It's still rotating.
We're back. We're back on the CoCo Show.
Yeah.
We love the CoCo Show.
I do.
Because we get to express our glorious love and devotion to the TRS-80 color computer, our computer from our childhood days.
Yes.
And this week, we're going into a fabulous realm that we never experienced back when we had CoCo.
No.
Nothing in this ballpark. We're looking at Gate Crashers from Nick Marentes.
Yes.
Now, before we get into Gate Crashers, I want to talk about the there's a obsession with older computers when it comes to running a Doom-like experience, Brent.
There is,
A
yes.
3D first-person shooter. It's like everyone gives it a whirl.
Yeah.
You know, and some people, sometimes they can pull it off, sometimes they can't pull it off. What do you think? Is it because of the popularity and of Doom and how it came out of nowhere, or is it for the technical prowess being used to do it? That just it's a challenge. What do you think is the deal?
I think you pretty much nailed the two biggest reasons. First of all, Doom, mega popular game. Doom-like games, mega popular. I mean, and really, we should go back farther and pat old Wolfenstein on the head.
Yeah.
It's an incredible genre of games, so it's obvious that people want to tap into that. But on the other side of it, it is also a technical marvel that, especially with modern program techniques, is relatively simple to pull off.
Oh, really?
No.
So you're undermining everyone's work.
No.
Hey, all the people that perform those miracles, Brent thinks you're lame.
No, but I'm saying, because even back in the day, you had the flat 3D perspective going on. And when people started to figure it out, it really, it blew up in a whole genre or a whole list of games that's a mile long. So to go back on these older systems where that box hadn't been opened yet and bringing it to those systems to see if you can do it, from a technical standpoint, is a logical jump. Because, like I said, from a hardware power perspective is what I was trying to say before. These are very doable things. Whereas, like, real polygonal graphics, you can't go back and do that on a lot of the old machines. They just don't have the math to push it. But this is something that is technically possible on a lot of machines. And kudos to the people who actually pull it off.
I know a game like Gate Crashers requires tons of math. By the way, because I'll get into why I know that. Trust me, it's not for my programming prowess. I can tell you that. They've managed to get Doom and Doom-like experiences on everything like the C64.
Yeah.
I believe I saw something with the VIC one time. And of course, the ever popular attempts on the Amiga that maybe sometime soon we'll see something. It is tough and it is funny. It's just taxing enough to make it almost impossible to run on these older machines. But it's always neat when people try to pull it off. Now, before we get to the game proper, when it comes to Doom and Doom-like games from that era, do you have a favorite amongst them?
Duke Nukem, Hexen. Those are my two big ones.
I liked,
and not Heretic. Not saying Heretic was a bad game, but Hexen was the one I really. Also, Rise of the Triad.
Yeah, Rise of the Triad
of my personal favorites.
Is one I played quite a bit. But really, I will say, of all those games, the one I spent the most time playing would be the original Doom.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. When I lived with my buddy Wes and our other buddy, we shared a house. And it was the first game we ever played over the network. We actually got network cards at a computer show and hooked them up. It's also the first game I ever played that wasn't a BBS game, where I played it in real time over the phone on a modem.
Oh,
with my buddy Jig. We'd hook up and we'd play this thing until all hours of the night. Playing verses on Doom, and it was fun. So Doom sold probably a lot of network cards, and it probably sold a lot of beefier machines to make it run better. And of course, as it moved along with Quake and whatnot, where you were really pushing those system requirements, and they sort of ushered in the era of the 3D card and whatnot. So in a lot of ways, I mean, not just because it was an amazing game, they actually pushed forward the technology required to play better versions of itself.
Sure.
So we're actually sort of going in reverse here. They're pushing backwards to make people be better at older machines that can't possibly run it.
Yeah. Real quick, the multiplayer aspect is exactly the reason why I put Rise of the Triad so high on the list.
Yeah.
We used to multiplayer that to death. And on a single-player aspect, I hardly ever played Duke Nukem 3D on multiplayer. I almost played it exclusively single-player.
Yeah.
So this type of game could really support both ends of the spectrum very, very well.
Yeah, and it's a tribute to those fellas, all the way up from Wolfenstein 3D on, especially the early developers who really got in there and thought outside the box. And and I will say I played a ton of, I love the original Castle Wolfenstein on the Atari,
the 2D
and on the Apple. So when they had the 3D version, I was like, oh boy, this is pretty cool. But I wasn't prepared when I saw Doom. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this exists. Speaking of I can't believe this exists, let's get into Gate Crashers here, Brent. So Gate Crashers, I know you never played this before this week.
Of course not. No.
I had actually come across this on my Nick Marentes tribute stream a while back. So this one, but I didn't know exactly what you were supposed to do in it. Again, this is Gate Crashers from Nick Marentes. We've covered plenty of his games over the years. He's still cooking. He's the Thunder from Down Under. He's part of the CoCo Nation, if you watch that show. And a prolific CoCo programmer. He also worked on the older Tandies, the monochrome, the Model 1s, Model 3. So it's funny. This game has two different release dates floating around. Nick says it was released in 2000. The web page, or the credits in this set was released in 99. And Moby says it was released August 19, 2000. So somewhere in there is the actual release date. This game requires a Color Computer 3. So this is a CoCo 3 exclusive. And you have to have a 512K RAM on this one, and a disc or some way to run it off of a SD card or whatnot. So this is a keyboard game. You'll be playing this with a keyboard, which is, you'll understand why when you play it. And this was a 6809 assembly language coded game. So to get a feel of what this game is, you sort of have to go back. I didn't know any of this until I did some research. There's a fellow named John Kowalski, who is a prolific programmer. He's known as Sock Master, and he did a demo years ago. This is from our good buddy El Curtis's Boil site. Using a version of the Gloom engine, he demonstrated 3D graphics that used the same sort of algorithms that you would see in Doom or Quake on the CoCo. Now, this apparently this demo made the rounds, and Nick saw it. He's like, I think I can make that into a game. He was looking for something to do. I believe he did this just after he did his Pac-Man tribute, and so he jumped in here to give this a whirl. And the question being, is it possible to do a first-person shooter Doom style or Wolfenstein style game on the CoCo, even the CoCo 3? And so he went to work on this thing, and sure enough, Gate Crasher is what he came up with. This was for sale originally, which we'll get into the sales figures, but now you can get this for free.
Yeah.
And I'll link it in the show notes for the show, but you can go download this for free right now. But there was a demo floating around. You can play the demo online. When Nick, I looked into Nick's development notes. He's got a list on his webpage for this. He said the hardest thing about this was to get everything to run at a decent frame rate. It also represents a first in Tandy Gaming. It's the first true 360-degree free movement, solid 3D action game. It uses an unofficial graphics mode that no one knew existed, the 128 by 96 by 16 color mode. That's not bad. And I will say, now listen, for people like myself who are just like, I don't know what you're talking about, it looks pretty good.
Oh, it looks real good, yeah.
All right. He uses double buffering in case you're interested in that. And each screen takes up only 6K of memory. He also has developed a dual-channel interrupt-driven sound routine, so he could have sort of digitized sounds mixed in with these high-level graphics, which is pretty impressive. He's got several digitized audio clips in this, which that's not something you see every day. So what's the story of this game? Well, I don't know, did you look at the story, the background of this?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just going to read this. It's not very long. I'm going to read this verbatim. So it's an era of high technology, an era of perfection, an era of the mind-enhancing brain implant devices. Small microcontrollers implanted into the human skull, acting as a coprocessor to the brain. I like the fact that it's a coprocessor. It's sort of like the Amiga. You've got multiple chips in their brain. With this device, a person's abilities can be enhanced while disabilities removed. I can use this so bad. Millions of people worldwide have undergone surgery to have a device installed and reap the benefits of improved lifestyle. Then underneath he's got a quote. It says, "He who controls the mind controls the world." When you put that quote up after that last paragraph, not good. Nick continues.
Then the evil starts.
But there is now evidence to prove that there is more to these devices than creating the perfect human. Leaked information has revealed that each implant has a means of a remote control via the internet, providing low-orbit satellite system, also owned and operated by the same company creating these implants. That's cheesy right there. This has been found to be used as a form of mind control, allowing the CEO of the company to control things such as the outcome of an election, the buying habits of consumers, and even invoke death. You are the gatecrasher, and it's time to crash this party. Destroy all the computer data and defeat the evil CEO himself. So that's the plot of this. You didn't know the plot,
No,
did you?
I did.
So now, but it makes sense now as to what you're doing in the game. So after all that, this is not a super complex game, really. You are guiding your character into a series of 5 buildings, or floors, I guess would be a better way to put it.
Right.
One huge building. And you have to negotiate the halls and rooms of these protected areas, and you've got to take out with your pistol. You've got to take out all the bad guys, probably mind-controlled guys that are coming to get you. You've also got to take out all the computers that are helping control the satellites to control everybody's mind.
Right.
And you have to do this, and you have to clear floor by floor. You can't even miss a one until you get to the 5th floor, where you finish up by taking out the evil CEO himself. And you have a time limit. There are 3 ways to die in this game.
Yeah.
3. You've got a time limit, because it's Nick Marentes loves time limits. You've got the ammo. If you run out of ammo, game over.
Yeah.
There's no pistol whipping in this one,
No.
or punching. And also, you can just be straight up killed.
Yeah,
You're
run out of health.
So you've got 3 things to do in this game. The game is presented in terms of the setup of the game screen. The upper 2/3 of the screen are devoted just to what you're seeing, a first-person view. The bottom of the screen, and it's all presented in sort of a console style. So in theory, someone could be controlling you to do this.
Yeah, you're not going in there doing it. You're controlling somebody else to do it.
At the bottom of the
That's how I
screen,
feel.
you've got an H and some like an H bar, that's your health. An A bar, that's your ammo. Then you've got a score table at the bottom and a timer. So those are your 4 stats you've got to keep track of. Brent, I've been going on for a while. Why don't you try to describe what is going on in this game?
First thing I want to point out is the play area in this, because games like this, notorious for putting you inside an itty-bitty little box to get it to run well. This gives you plenty of screen real estate to play the game.
It's quite like actual Doom, and it's the way the screen's divided up.
Yeah, your play area does have a border, and it does have information down below the play screen. But considering everything that's going on, it gives you plenty of field of view, and it gives you plenty of actual game playing space. That was one thing I was very worried about going into this, that it was just going to be a tiny little square in the middle with a bunch of crap around
clearly
it.
you played Doom on a lesser computers of the day. Me too. Like ours.
Yeah.
It's a good example of a lesser one.
So that was right off the bat. I was impressed. Thing number 2 I was impressed with is when you first load up the game and you start moving around. Well, first of all, when you load up the game, you immediately get shot. I don't know if that's every time, but it sure happened to me every time. It happens
to me every single time the game starts. There's a guy attacking you the second you start.
So we'll circle back around to that. But you're moving around and you feel like you're walking in syrup. And you're like, man, I knew this was going to be kind of slow turn and crap like that. And then just out of instinct, I reached over for the almighty shift key and engaged that run feature. And let me tell you something, smooth as silk.
Yeah.
Smooth as silk. I just take a piece of tape and put over that shift key because you're going to want to be running at all times.
Well, I mean, you default to walk. And walk, in terms of, I always would walk into battle. I didn't want to have the shift key down when I was
you're
shooting.
right. You're right.
So I wouldn't put tape over the shift key. That'd probably be a dumb move.
But it's amazing that, because like I said, when you start up the game, you think this is just going to be how it is. But when you press down that shift key and you really start whipping around the place, it runs really, really well. That was the second thing I was really, really impressed with. You don't get an on-screen crosshair. And
which would have helped.
You have a pistol, and it's at the middle of the screen, and it's animated, I might add.
It does like it kicks. It kicks like a pistol does.
But it is somewhat awkward that you can shoot under and over targets. It seems, maybe I'm just imagining that. It's not because you can look up and down. It's just sometimes the guys, as you're walking, are not in the center of your screen. So having the crosshairs would have been nice, but the gun does allow you to line up for the most part to get your shots because it's showing you, hey, this is the middle of the screen. You're going to be shooting in the middle of this.
Right.
Do we want to go? Do you want me to go ahead and go over the door aspect?
Yeah. Well, I'll get you started on that, I guess. So as you run through this 3D world, you're going to come across several different types of doors. There's 3 types of doors in this. Okay. Green doors you can freely pass.
Yeah.
Now, some doors are green to start off with, and some doors are green after you unlock them. Red doors are locked doors that require you to put in a code to unlock them, which we'll get into. Yellow doors are the elevators. And you can't get into those until a yellow box will appear on the screen, like an indicator that means, okay, you're clear to go to the next level.
And it basically is your level begin and end, and you can't progress until you destroy all the computers.
Once you destroy all the computers. So the red doors are interesting. Go ahead.
This is both the crown jewel and the sewer plant of this game.
Sewer plant. What kind of weird saying is that?
I don't know. You don't have key cards, a tradition throughout all of these type of games. Instead, you have to hack, sort of, the doors. And the way it is done is with a very simple mini game, sort of like Mastermind, if you're familiar with that.
I hated that game. We had that when I was a kid. I was like, I don't want to play this, and I can see why. This is not a simple hack to me.
So when you go up to the door, you'll be pressing R, G, and B, red, green, and blue.
On your keyboard.
Yeah. You know. Well, how else are you going to press
Well, I'm just saying, you actually hit those corresponding keys.
And every time you do, you input either a red input, a blue input, or a green input. You have to get the order correct, and every time you fail, it will show you either the key that you entered is correct, but the other ones aren't. A key you entered is the correct color but in the wrong spot, or the key you entered is just not used in this code at all. So it's slight logic puzzles every time you get to a door. I really enjoy this. I think this is a clever way of accessing doors that isn't key cards. I just wish there were about a third of these doors that there actually are. Because every time you come to a door, there are some passages that you run down, it's no problem, you're juking in doors all the place. And then there are some corridors you go down where like every door has these key codes. And I wish you didn't have to do it so many times per level because it does get tedious. I got to the point where it's only 3 codes. It's only 3. You can guess your way to success. Now, you fail 5 times.
That's how I always did it.
If you fail 5 times, it says that it changes to a new code.
It does. It does.
But if you go through the sequences fast enough, because it's like I said, it's only 3 keys, you can actually type in all the sequences and get lucky. I mean, not faster than you can do it logically, because logically you can do it. It's only 3 codes. It's pretty easy. But that's what
Not with my logic, I couldn't. It was all guessing.
That is what I eventually started doing, was just going through the sequences as fast as I could, because it lets you input them as fast as you can hit the keys. The only other problem I had with this aspect of the game is the screen that you're putting in the code pops up in the corner. I think it's a little small. I think
it's small, but I can tell. You know, I can tell.
I could too, but because since it's only there when you're engaged with the door, I think they could have given it a little more screen real estate, because you can get shot during this. It doesn't pause the action around you. So if you back up, it goes away. And that happens a lot. There are a lot of times when you will go up to a door and start getting shot from behind. Other aspects, there are pickups in the game. You can pick up health. You can pick up ammo. It's fairly generous from what I saw.
No, I don't agree with that.
Oh, I think it was. I think there was plenty. Now, up in the later levels, it gets a little more confusing, gets a little more sparse. But especially level 1, level 2, there's plenty. I wish there were time pickups, and if there are, I didn't find them.
I didn't see any time pickups. I don't think they're in there.
I think that would have, pick up like a jammer signal or something. I think that would have made sense within the game realm and been a little more helpful. I typically didn't die from time, but
no, I didn't either. I usually ran out of ammo.
But really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my number one way of dying, is running out of ammo.
The other thing, while you do have bad guys to shoot, there are also innocents, programmers, as he calls them.
Yeah.
That if you shoot one of them, you lose health. That is how I died more than anything else, because they will just meander through gun battles without any care for their own well-being.
They sort of look like our old buddy Beasley. That's what he reminded me of. I mean, I'm a friend of ours that looks just like those guys. You know, we should get into the shooting aspect. We didn't talk about it much. So, Brent mentioned you've got these innocent programmers that look stunned. And now, let's get back up. You're moving around this 3D environment.
Yeah.
All right? And you're going to come across 2 types of people.
Yeah.
These dark-suited bad guys that shoot you, and then the white-suited geeks that are innocent. Okay?
Yes.
When you see one of these guys, they don't come running at you.
No.
All right?
Well, I mean,
They do change as you come forward. They get bigger. They've got that.
the scaling, yeah.
But they don't move at all.
Oh, no, they're not animated.
They're like paper dolls.
Yeah.
And they just sort of come at you. It's a lot like Hogan's Alley. They just took those guys out of Hogan's Alley, just took their stick and said, great, 3D house of those. They come at you. So I guess they didn't have Jack to animate these guys at all. So it's kind of goofy looking when they come at you. But they do look good. They look real good.
And it's very easy to distinguish bad guy from good guy.
But there are many, many problems with the combat here. Okay, so problem number the first. Brent mentioned it. The second the game starts, you're instantly getting shot in the back. And then you've got to, so there's no time. This should have been on the Amiga. This is the kind of difficulty level we expect. So you've got to spin around real quick and just start blazing and shoot as much as you can to kill this guy. So that's probably something that should have been addressed. Secondly, these guys can occupy your exact space.
Yeah.
And so you're looking around frantically trying to shoot them, and they're not there. It's because they're on you. They're physically like the monkeys in Congo Bongo. They've grabbed hold of you. They're just pointing a gun at you, firing. So it's a shame that couldn't be addressed. So one thing you're going to learn to do is when you're in combat is to move.
Yeah.
You don't want to stand still. You got to move. It's not because you're trying to avoid getting shot. You're trying to avoid them being where you're at. So that aspect is annoying. if you get 2 or 3 of these guys on you at once, holy smokes, it's crazy time.
Yeah.
You're wheeling around. Something else you want to do is clear as many of these guys out as you can before you even attempt to unlock any doors. Because I do like this though. You can be entering a code, all of a sudden you start taking damage. One of these guys will come up on you, so you wheel around, blow them away, and turn back around and start screwing around with the code. The idiots that are not mind controlled, the geeks, they are irritating. They will do their best because they're like you. They don't want this guy to occupy their space either. So they're always moving around, and they get right in your way over and over. If there's a couple of those guys in the room, it's a nightmare too. You know.
If there's more than one of them in a room and a bad guy, the innocents are going to die. There's no way to avoid it.
So it's funny that it's because when you go through the game, you can shoot everyone on the level. You go look around.
Yes.
Sometimes they're behind locked doors and you shoot them, but they're dead. So you can get to the point where you can freely move through the level.
Yes.
If you want to, which is cool. The only other thing you really are going to be shooting are these computer terminals.
Yeah.
They're part of the deal. They look good.
Oh yeah, they do.
You can also pick up an ammo pack, which are just looks like
Extra
sort of like
bullets.
Doom.
Yeah.
And it also much looking like Doom is the first aid box, and which do what you expect to do. Now you can waste these, by the way, if you're already maxed out.
Yes.
So in this game I wouldn't do that.
And they don't fill you to full. They give you about 4 hit points.
Yeah. If you could go to full with them, but but they don't add more. So this is pretty much the game. Now let's talk about the maze. Okay, or the building, whatever you want to call it. It's an odd. Games of this sort are normally totally straight.
Squares.
Straight.
Yes.
Everything in it's square. There's not any circular objects or curved. In this game, everything has a curvature to it.
Not everything, but most things.
Most, like your hallways are all curved hallways. The rooms are curved. It's unusual. Now, I read somewhere that this was due to a math discrepancy in the code. Like when Nick put this together. Now I don't know. I can't give you any more than that. I read that, but I read that there was something when he did this game that caused that, and it theoretically, I suppose, could be fixed to where because what it's known as is the fisheye effect. That's what they call what's going on here. Now, looking at something with fisheye lens, it's not that bad.
No, it's not traditional fisheye.
But it is weird.
Yeah.
And it does, and so here's my other major gripe with the game. The navigating, and this is every game of this sort on a lower system, and sometimes on a higher system, navigating these hallways and knowing where you're at is virtually impossible. Now, when this game released, everyone was we're screwed. There's a time limit, and
exactly.
And also, I get lost, and I got lost perpetually in this game. So Nick, eventually, he released the maps, and so once I found out the maps were available, I went over and had the maps up. Even with the maps, it's not easy to navigate these hallways, and one of the reasons is it's because there's no identifying features on anything. And which is that's one of the limitations of what's going on. So you can't have a picture here or a vase or a carpet or there's nothing. Really, the only thing you have to help yourself navigate through the maze is the doors, particularly the locked doors and the elevator door.
Yes,
because then you can at least get your bearings. There's no compass in this. There's no overhead maze. There's no bring up a maze. There's a map. There's none of that stuff. And so for me, I spent a good deal of time trying to get to where I needed to go and failing miserably.
Did you ever get off the first board?
I did.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Because I never got off the second.
Yeah, no, I never got off the second board.
It's the visual in this. If you didn't know that it wasn't designed this way, you would think that they just went in and architect this map to the nines.
It's almost like fancy. I worked for a company that brought in this new design element, and so a lot of the stuff ended up being rounded like this. And it was, and this looked like a modern office. Like, if this is the future, I know we're really hemming and hawing about this math issue, but I mean, when I saw this, I thought it was a stylistic choice.
I did too.
But I've read, and maybe it was, but I've read somewhere that this may have been a math issue.
Well, if
you can believe that.
It doesn't look bad. It just adds to the confusion.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it just slightly more difficult to find your way around.
As for you were talking about the shooting aspect, since the bad guys never stop, they are always in motion, it means you always have to be in motion too. I didn't have problems. I didn't have many problems outside the first guy that attacks you of an enemy in your spot and just wailing on you. Because I think it's because I was moving so much. However, since the bad guys are moving all the time, and you have to move all the time too, aiming is really hard.
Yeah.
Because when you don't hold down shift, you're not rotating fast enough, and when you are holding down shift, you're rotating too fast.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of tap it while you're shooting. Enemies take 3 shots to kill.
Yeah.
Good guys take 1 shot to kill, and that's why it is so easy to kill good guys when you're trying to track a bad guy and you're moving from left to right and the bad guy's moving from left to right, but the innocent is moving right to left, and you guys cross paths. You're gonna shoot them almost every time. It's hard to react to stop.
Get this, according to the docs, when you get to the evil CEO, he takes 30 hits. You gotta have a lot of ammo standing by.
You gotta have a lot of health standing by.
Yeah.
You don't take a block of damage per being shot, and you have, 10 health to start with?
Yeah, you've got a pretty goodly amount of health.
So, I mean, you probably take 30 hits before you're actually dead. Although, when you shoot a good guy, an innocent, you lose an entire block of health. And that is ultimately what got me killed over and over and over again. I really enjoy the technical aspects of this game.
Yeah.
I really enjoy certain mini-game aspects of this game. I just wish, and I'm going to assume that this is due to the limitations of the hardware, I wish the maps were better designed. And even outside of a visual representation where you are aspect of the game,
yeah,
there are doors that they're side by side, and you'll go through one,
yeah,
and then unless you immediately backtrack and go through the other one, man, you might never find that door again.
And with the curvature, it's difficult to, okay, did I come out this door or come in that door?
Right.
Especially when they're that close. I had the same problem.
Right.
I would like to even see, like, listen, this is an Amiga issue too a lot this year, but I mean, take these levels, cut them in half, and have this thing have 10 levels. They're too huge.
Well, and
because that way you need to get somewhere in these games. This is something, I can't figure out why no one gets this. These levels are massive levels.
They are.
Them and you can cut them in at least half. You maybe cut them to thirds. And then give people, it's satisfying getting the elevator. It's a cool effect, when it closes. Give people a break, and maybe give them a little extra, make the time go per level and give them something when they get in the elevator, a little boost or something. You need it.
Yeah.
This is a tough game. And the funny thing is I watched someone beat the game. And the ending of the game, I don't know if we should even talk about the very ending because it's quite clever. Did you see the very end of the game?
No, I didn't actually
You
watch
want me to ruin the game for you?
Well, should you ruin the game for all the people out there?
Well, okay. Let's just say the ending of this game gives the word gate crasher a new meaning, all right? That's what makes it fun. So, I mean, the elements, and the thing is, I like this game.
I do too.
I don't like getting lost.
Correct.
That's the thing I hate the most, even with the maps. And I don't like that it's too hard. You don't need a time limit and health and a bullet limit. You need maybe 2 of those 3.
Yeah.
I would like maybe ditch the time limit. The time is no good. And I know there's a poke out there that Buck Owens was shopping around that will turn off stuff.
Yeah.
I think it turns off the automatic ammo death and the timer. All right, so if you need something like that, which I think most people do, but the inning is too good to not make it to it. But I would like to have shorter levels. I would like to have the curvature thing is not a big deal, but it would be nice to have some sort of markers or even know where you've been. I don't know what you can do because there's not going to be an on-screen map.
Right.
So that element. Now let's talk about something we haven't talked about, which is a good element: the sound in this. This is a CoCo game with tons and tons and tons of digitized sound in it. The gun is digitized. If you start wailing on, and the other bad guys, you hear their gunshots, and they're off in the distance. You can hear them come closer. You also have, if you start blowing suckers away, your guy goes woohoo!
Yeah, he gets excited.
He makes a noise, which I thought was amusing. I can tell you at the end, there's some straight up digitized graphics in the game. That at the very end. So, I mean, and Nick is a sound whiz, so I wasn't terribly surprised they would have good sound. But the sound effects is good to move, and so you can tell that it's. We don't want to bury the lead here. The lead is that when you look at this game, it will blow your mind.
Yeah.
Like, I played it on that stream, and I was baffled. I was like, where has this been? What is this? How are they doing this on a 2 megahertz 8-bit machine?
Yeah.
2 megahertz, and you're getting this? This blows away most anything else I've seen on a machine of this level.
Yeah.
In terms of it's a monumental programming feat.
The fact that the bad guys scale is amazing. The 3D aspects of it are amazing. There's a lot of positive aspects of this game.
One thing I would wonder is if you'd went with something that wasn't like guys, like something
robots,
that had like wheels. You could probably have made it look like they were moving somehow if you wanted to. Just have a tiny bit of animation. Of like
you wouldn't even need animation if you did something like hovering robots.
Yeah. But I mean, this does fit. And there wasn't the guys look good. So
they look great.
So that there's that. But yeah, this is worth, if you play it just to as a spectacle. This is the kind of thing you pop up at your computer fair and blow people's minds.
Yeah.
Because this right here is quite one of the most remarkable things I've seen done on a CoCo ever. It's up there with some of the transcode and stuff. So it's just like, and it makes you impressed.
It doesn't make you the best game on the CoCo. It makes you the most impressive visually on the CoCo.
I will say this though, as a game, like, it's a fun game. Like
it's okay.
I did enjoy myself, and the code thing was surprisingly entertaining to me. Even though I sucked at it, I did like the idea of kind of hacking into these doors, and it's satisfying when you break one open. You go in there and get the stuff. So and I think I'm telling you something else. You could take the bones of this game in 2024 and probably do something quite remarkable. If you wanted to mess around with it.
I don't agree with that.
Why? Because CoCos now have like 4 times as much memory.
Oh, you mean on the Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. CoCos, you can have one that's 4 times as fast and have the additional speed it up for the chip. You can really get into something.
But here's the thing. I mean, is that really in the spirit of what's taking place here?
Who cares?
No,
do it because you can.
No, I think that I think being able to say that this will run on a available at the time CoCo. Now, granted, it's the upper
but all this stuff,
echelon.
This stuff was all available at the time. The stuff I'm proposing, you can upgrade the memory and you can upgrade the processor. The processor upgrade's a minor bump, Brent.
I know.
So anyway, enough of him. Now, so get this. So this is off Nick's site. Nick was preparing this for the Pen Fest 2000. This is TRC Car Computer Festival. And so he was like, okay, I'm going to package this thing up and sell it off. He did, and he worked with us because Nick was making games and selling them.
Yeah.
And at the time, was making money.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
So he knew he was in trouble when he put this game together. And as of the writing of this, when he wrote this, he said he'd sold 40 copies.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
40. He said it made less than the Pac-Man game, and he sold like I think 4 or 5 fold of that.
Man,
so it's funny on this thing. He wrote it's like this was to be my last color computer game, and he stopped making games for like a long time.
Yeah,
but
man,
then the resurgence came, and now he's back in action. And I guarantee his last crop of games, we've covered a bunch of his games in here, are selling quite nicely. In fact, I own this one. I bought almost everything he's ever made.
Do you know how much this sold for?
You know, it's funny. It seems like I saw it. It wasn't a ton. It was like $20 or something. It wasn't like super expensive at the time.
And was that $20 with a box and a manual, or was it $20?
No, it's actually it was a floppy disk, and written on the floppy was like pictures and the logo and stuff was all on the floppy case. You know, on the case.
And back in 2000, I think that's a little much of an ask.
I could be. I mean, listen, the price is coming out of my hiney. Okay. I can't tell you for sure, but I know he sold. Listen, people, would you have paid $20 for this if you'd seen it?
No.
I would have. My God, take this back to your house and be like, look at this, everybody.
I would pay $20 for it if it came with a box and a manual and was something I could put the box on my shelf.
Well, you got.
But if it just came as a disc to put into a machine, I think you got to knock the price down to like $14.
Well, yeah, but Nick publishes this stuff himself. He's not a box manufacturer. He can't.
No, I understand. But what I'm saying is, I salute the effort. I salute the technological achievements. But as a game, I'm never going to go back to this.
Oh, I will. I'll play because I'd like to beat it. I like to beat this.
No,
one.
I appreciate what this game was, and this is absolutely something you can whip out and impress other people that the CoCo can do this. But as a game, I'm not going to go back and experience this, which makes it harder to, unlike the Baggers.
Baggers in Space and Spectrum. Whereas
that is a game I can go back and play and keep enjoying on top of some of the visual aspects of it. This is something it's an impressive game. I'm not trying to down that, but the quality of the game itself doesn't warrant that price tag for me.
See, it's free. He's giving it away for free.
No, free. Now, of course, check it out. There's no reason not to. I'm trying to.
You don't even know the price. I just guessed at the price.
If it was $20,
let's say it was $10.
Yes, then you buy it.
Good Lord! Don't go off on him because the price.
No,
I don't even know the price.
I'm not. I'm trying to just put it in perspective.
I clearly had more fun playing this than you did. I found it quite enjoyable. I thought it was kind of fun.
You didn't think the locked doors got annoying after a while?
No, actually, I liked that element because that was the one place I could succeed. Eventually, I was like, hey, listen, I like to hack doors. What do you want from me? I thought that was kind of fun.
I would have also liked to have seen the doors get more difficult as you go up.
Not me. I wish they'd get easier, and frankly, as you went into the game.
But like, if there were fewer of them, I would have liked to have seen them get harder as you go up. That's just me. And again, just having the hacking in the game at all is fun and impressive and thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. We did get some reviews on this, the Brent, a couple of reviews. If you'll indulge me.
A few reviews, I believe.
Curtis wrote a novel here that I'm going to go ahead and read it. So this is from our good buddy L. Curtis Boyle, which, of course, I promptly clicked away. Here we go. So Curtis writes, the first true first-person 3D game, not perspective like Dungeons of Dargoth, Phantom Slayer, etc. For the CoCo, this Nick Marentes classic is a great game with digital sound effects, including Woohoo from Homer Simpson. That explains that. A mini mastermind game. I like that when Curtis wrote mastermind, he actually put in parentheses TM. Like, thank God Curtis has kept himself out of copyright court. Anyway, a mini mastermind game to open the locked red doors, ammo and health pickups, just like the big boy games, and a mix of enemies to shoot and not shoot, often at the same time. The double speed left-right turns done by holding the shift key down along with the arrow key are absolutely necessary, and the game is fast-paced and fun, with a fun boss at the end that people may recognize, 5 different levels as well. It's highly recommended that you have maps near you, no auto mapping in this game, to make finding the hidden computer systems you have to destroy much easier. Nick's second 512K required game with a 3D engine by John Sockmaster Kowalski based on his earlier Gloom and Gloom 2 demos. Caveats: honestly, the game is a little too difficult, and not having maps when one originally bought it, like I did, made it harder. Plus, too many things are against the players. Not only do you have to manage the ammo, and there's only a fixed number of bullets to find on each level, but you also have a time limit on top of that. I think it should have been ammo only. Also, Nick at the time didn't know how to get rid of the fisheye effect. Due to the math calculations, he was just like, okay, there you go. He has expressed that he someday may go back and fix that. Also, to keep the speed up with the digitized sound effects, he had to use a fairly low resolution, although 16 colors, it doesn't look too bad. Nick has since added the maps on his site and have enabled more people to complete the game, although getting rid of that time limit is even better. I believe Buck Owens used it, the poke. Of note, this is the last game Nick that Nick sold for the CoCo for well over a decade until Popstar Pilot came out in 2016. He stopped because sales had dropped to only 40, as I mentioned. Due to the resurgence of retro in the mid-2010s, Popstar here has tripled that figure. So it's sold at least, 120 copies. Nick is actively developing games again, and he has made several since then, which he absolutely has. So good point, Curtis. Mr. Dave writes in, I played this game for the first time with the Game 1 Challenge. I was really impressed. Very playable, nice color graphics. I prefer this to Nick's semi-graphic games. As for the fisheye, looks more like a happy mistake. Looks like it would be more complicated to do. This game gets a thumbs up from me. I'm sort of like that too. That's sort of what I figured.
Yeah, 100%. It looks like it was intentional.
Lastly, our good buddy Pajako chimes in. For the system, gate crash is impressive from a technical standpoint, and once you have your head around navigating, it's kind of okay. I had access to the maps, and it made the game way easier to navigate, but the weird fisheye in the 3D is very disorienting, so you will get lost a lot to begin with. And while it was very basic, there was something amusing and endearing about the cardboard cutout-like characters moving around. I did also like the code-breaking door unlocking. Nice and neat, but it works. Sadly, where the whole thing falls down for me was the ammo system and shooting accuracy. You can have your gun in some guy's face and still fail to hit them until you waste a lot of ammo, which is vital to continue playing. And with the baddies moving very quickly, you end up spinning and moving around trying to shoot them and getting lost many times. Even with the maps, it isn't easy. That's true. You can poke the game before the game over, so when you're out of ammo. But I wanted to play the game as it was originally designed, and there is something to the preserving of ammo challenge that I like. As a technical piece, this is fantastic. But as a game, I would sit down and enjoy for a long period, not so much. I would still urge people to try it out just to see it running on the machine that shouldn't be able to do this. 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fair. I think it's a fair look at the game.
Absolutely.
But I think this is a one you should check out if you haven't seen it before. I think it's a real neat one, the Brent, and I personally actually enjoyed it quite a bit. Something that I will tell you, when I came across this on the stream, I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yeah.
I think it's that impressive.
No, it is. It is. It's punching way above its weight.
And when it comes to Nick games, we've covered a good chunk of his stuff. He's always trying to think outside the box, and that's what I like about Nick. Like, I mean, this was if you think of the challenge of doing a game in 3D like this, I mean, the fact that he was able to take a demo and turn it into something that even we can call a game is something that we've seen. I played that we played a game on the ST, me and Bo did, that was sort of the same concept of this, but they forgot to put a game in there. So I mean, maybe that's why I give this more of a pass, because I mean, I've played a lot of these dud attempts at Doom, and I'm like, these are horrible. I mean, and this is way better than most of those. I've played some god-awful Doom things, or even versions of Doom itself that run so poorly that it makes it totally unfun.
Or you're in a square this big.
Yeah, you got that right.
Postage stamp.
Hey, listen, I want to, before we get to what we'll be playing next on the CoCo Show, big shout-out to all of our friends in the Game Selection Committee, the CoCo Show's Game Selection Committee, and our good buddy Mitsuyama has got that thing cooking.
Yeah.
And it enables us so much. It's so helpful because now we know what's coming up. Do you want to see what's coming up? Let's find out, the Brent. Bam. It's the quest for Thelda.
Thelda? Is that how you say that?
Seems legit. The quest for Thelda. Now, I've heard of this game, but I never played it. I think it's like a Zelda clone. That's the name. Well, don't get us sued. TM, just like Curtis. TM. So that might be. I'm guessing you never played this one, the Brent.
No, I haven't. I'm looking forward to it.
This one probably came out well after we had long left the CoCo. Hey, thanks again, everyone, for tuning us in. I've got a schedule here now. You would be amazed, but I actually know when the next time we're going to be doing the CoCo Show is. In the studying turn of events, the CoCo Show, our next CoCo Show will be on June 30th. June 30th, Brent, will be our next CoCo Show. That's when we'll be looking at, of course, Bethelda. Next week, we'll be back. The retro rotation spins us back around to ARG Presents the Brent. And the game do you remember what the episode is? It's games with multi-games inside of them. So multi-genre games. One game, several genres in the game. Should be a lot of fun. So we hope you'll kick back with us next week for ARG. And again, we're back at the CoCo Show on June 30th. That'll be at your Boat Fest too. So we'll be much less nervous by the time the next CoCo Show rolls around. I don't think I've got anything coming up in the works that I can think of. Of course, Boat Fest coming up the weekend of June 14th, 15th, and 16th. We will have a heavy color computer contingency there with one of the king dogs of the color computer. L. Curtis Boyle will be there. Ken will be there. It should be, so you've got a couple big CoCo players right there. Of course, myself. I'm a big CoCo player. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Size isn't what they're talking
about.
That's
all. In that case, we're both huge CoCo players. So there'll be a lot of CoCo action going down at Boat Fest. We'd love to have you guys come out to Boat Fest if you're so inclined. I should mention that as we tape this, right this very second, Brett, as we're taping this, the CoCo Fest is going on up in Chicago. So if anyone is up in Chicago watching us live out of, boredom, hey everybody, I got an on the floor report last night from our roving reporter Paco. And Paco said it was having a great time. This is the healthiest I've ever seen Paco look. He was a beautiful hue of fluorescent green. He looked fine. So greetings to everybody out at CoCo Fest. Hope you guys have a good time. And we will catch you guys again next time around for another episode of the CoCo Show. And you know what we always say at the end of the CoCo Show? Brent, give it away.
CoCo Show. That's good drinking.
See you later.